us to do your will. Thank you for our many blessings that we have. Please be with our world, state, and local leaders at this time, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, we have the approval of the agenda, consideration for the resolution to approve the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, under the planning board, let me get to the page. Under the planning board items number 14 and 15, the applicant has requested to withdraw this item. This item is for Michael DeVoe for conditional use located at 1450 Ornsdorf Loop to establish a firearms training center, map number 362, parcel number 11 in the 3rd district. This item is to be removed from the agenda.
Any other additions or corrections?
No, sir.
We have a motion to approve the agenda with the removal, withdrawal of item number 14 and 15.
so moved.
Motion by Mr. Deloach. Who was the second? Mr. Logan. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And we have our agenda. Consideration to approve the November 3rd, 2020 regular commission meeting minutes. I've read them. They appear to be an accurate presentation. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve as presented. Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Floyd to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it's unanimous. We welcome the public tonight to our meeting. Ask you if you would make the comments to the agenda items only. The other items, please see the county manager or the clerk about getting those on a future agenda. All the documents and correspondences are located in our clerk's office or on our website, so hopefully you had a chance to review those and prepare to participate at the appropriate time. And with that, we'll move into our consent agenda. We have one item, consideration to approve to renew the license agreement with Verizon Wireless for tower use radio antennas. Motion to approve the consent
Make
agenda.
a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Deloach to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it's unanimous. Moving to old business. Item number 1 on the old business, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Chad Zipper to rezone 15 acres out of 107.64 acre parcel located in Hodgeville Road from AR1 to B3 for future development, map number 417, parcel number 1 in the 2nd district. This is postponed from the 11-3 meeting as well as the 10-20, so this second time.
This is the second reading.
This second reading, so do you have a motion to approve the second reading?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it's unanimous. Item number 2 under old business, consideration to approve a professional service contract with Pittman Engineering for the county stormwater utility study. This was postponed from the 11-3 meeting. And I think we had some questions for the
Sure.
staff to check into. Of course, I think you said some information on that.
Yeah, based on the feedback that we got at the previous meeting, I sent the board each a copy of the presentation from GWES and Pittman Engineering, as well as the basis for the recommendation from the former county engineer. And I mean, I'll just read the last sentences on that, which that his recommendation is specifically related to determining and developing utility studies, concerns, and programs, or I'm sorry, the specific utility studies, concerns, and programs and that we're comparing Pittman's personnel qualifications, which GWES was the base, that was the basis for the higher scores in experience and staff, which is what gave Pittman a higher score than GWES at the time.
Okay. And our engineers still stand by the recommendation for Pittman.
That's correct.
Any questions or discussion from the board? Jack, comment?
Yes, sir. My name is Burke Murph. I'm a principal with GWS. I saw on the agenda tonight that old business item 2 was up. I'm just here to proudly represent my company and answer any questions that you do have. And I apologize if I'm out of order.
No, you're in order,
No.
and they may have some specific questions for you. Would anybody on the commission have a question for GWS LLC? Who's here tonight?
I don't particularly have any questions. I mean, my concerns are the same as far as the cost differential between the two. However, with Charlie's recent recommendation, and frankly, with Charlie not on full-time right now, I'll lean back toward Pittman in this case. It's my personal thing. One of the reasons why they have engineer on board, I think, for me, is so we can branch out and work with different people and things of that nature. That gives us a checks and balances. So we're already going to do that. We want to do that. We want to branch out and give opportunity to everyone we can. But that absence right now, currently, and we just Mr. Pittman working with the county before, which I'll be more active to lean back to what we did with that. It's not this point.
Very good. Yeah, we do have a scoring. We did want them to recheck that scoring for us. And that's why I was confirming tonight that they had reviewed that, and our engineer is suggesting that we, or recommending we still go with Pittman Engineering. And, so we have a hard time going against the scoring since we've got that measure to help us with that.
I understand.
Any other question, discussion from the other board? I entertain a motion to approve alternative 1, which is to approve staff recommendations for professional service contract with Pittman for $38,500.
I'll make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette, to approve alternative 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, nay. And carries. We do appreciate you being here. And
Yes, sir. Please apply again.
Yeah.
We'll go to I think it would be. Yes, sir, will do. Thank you.
Moving to item number 3 of the old business, planning board recommends approving an application by Terramore Development as agent for Lynn Michael Brennan to rezone 1.12 acres out of 1.76 acres located on McCall Road from AR1 to B3, map number 465M, parcel number 3B in the 2nd district.
So at the previous meeting,
I want to know how far back from the Paul Road that
Let me make the presentation, and then we'll open the public hearing.
Okay.
1 second. Okay? Okay.
so the arrow points to that green section in the front, which is currently zoned AR1, and the request is to rezone that to B3 to match that sort of square in the center there. And a portion of that will be subdivided out. They'll be joined together. That will be proposed to be a retail development. At a later time, we will be rezoning the portions remaining in the back and consolidating that and kind of making that whole again. So it's a two-step process. At the last meeting, some residents of Westwood Heights expressed concern about drainage, and the engineers for Terramore have looked into that. And up here, this one, on the right, they have added a proposed outfall. They proposed to increase the required detention, increase the size of the detention pond beyond the required size, and to accommodate as much water as possible, and then pipe it out to the front to the existing drainage system. So they did listen to the concerns and are attempting to address them.
The drawing there, Teresa, just for clarification, is that the entire combined parcel?
This is the proposed, let me go back.
The proposed combined?
So right now, what the sketch plan would represent about half, a little bit around half of that to the front to McCall. The rest, you will, in a month, you will be hearing the rezoning of the remainder to be joined to the back parcel. So it's a two-step process. But right now, what we're looking at is rezoning the front portion here to B3 to match this, and a portion of this will be joined together, and it will then look like this.
Do we know what the intentions of the back parcel will be?
It's to remain residential as far as we're currently running.
So that part between
Hey,
John Glenn Drive
Ma'am,
and
ma'am,
it's.
ma'am, hang on one second, I want to give you a chance to ask questions and we'll do it. That concludes your report.
Yes, staff recommends approval of planning
All
board.
right, we're going to open a public hearing and we'll hear from anyone that's, first anyone opposing this or questions about this rezone. You come to the microphone, state your name, and you can come up when she gets through. State your name and ask any question and any objection.
Go ahead. We'll get there.
Can you put the microphone down, please, ma'am? Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay. I live on Melrose Place.
And your name?
I am against this because of
And your name for the record?
Alice Harris.
Okay, thank you.
And I am against this. This is going to cause more traffic in our neighborhood. We already have a problem with drainage. You can tell me that you're going to put a detention pond in all you want, but I don't think it's going to work. There are problems with drainage in the back part of the neighborhood, especially on John Glenn. We already have problems with the speeders. And how would you like to look out your back door and see nothing but commercial? And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to make you delay.
That's okay.
Could you state your name, please?
I'm Marilyn O'Connor, and I live on John Glenn. I moved there in 1986. There was a drought that year, and then towards the end of the year, it started to rain. And it rained and rained and rained, and it kept creeping within 20 feet of my back door. I want to know, I'm interested in right behind. And if you go back there, even now without lots and lots of rain, you'll see the trees. I've got a crepe myrtle tree that's probably 40 feet high because of the water. The ones closer to my house are normal size. It gets wet. And down the street, my neighbors on John Glenn, their yard gets like pudding. You can tell us you're going to put something there. We don't believe you because of what's happened before. So, you're welcome.
Can you pull up the bigger map for me? Because I'm having trouble finding it on my computer.
It's just click on the small word, surely, and then scroll down for some reason.
That's what I did.
Just keep scrolling past that. You'll get it. After you take a page. Just get listed on video. Pops up a terrible.
Okay. So that's commercial property, the 21 back to where they want to go, right?
Currently, anything, these are commercial zonings here. So this is 21, and that's
Right.
all commercial, all the way up to here. And then currently, this is zone, the green is zoned AR1 and 2, and this is zoned commercial, and it's essentially a storage type business. It was rezoned in 2013 and is kind of evolved in usage to where there's vehicles and HVAC systems, and it's just kind of storage. So the proposal is to take a portion of this parcel, add it to the front, turn it into retail development, and then this strip along here actually joins to this rear parcel where the owner of all of this lives, and she intends to continue living there as far as we know. And that parcel will be joined to all this remaining AR1 and the back of the B3 to just consolidate.
Where is John Glenn compared to that?
It's way up here. I mean,
Yeah, I used to live on John, that's what I'm trying to think, I'm trying to remember where, how far off.
it's a good bit further up.
Okay.
It's the first street off of McCall Road, but you gotta go
You-
through all that.
Ma'am, and you have to come to the microphone if you're going to speak.
She said it's the first street off of McCall Road, but you have to go through, I would guess, Charles, is that
Yeah,
Charleston Burks?
Yeah.
Yes, so the very top of this AR2 parcel is the back of the John Glenn parcel, so it's a good bit up here.
I think I'm-
So any detention here, the proposed stormwater detention would be here.
So there's already a building there.
It's not a building, it's really just kind of,
So,
there might be some storage, but it's really just kind of open storage of vehicles and equipment.
some Dutch trucks stored back there.
And what they're asking to rezone is just the green part in the front of that?
Yeah, and then about half, actually, yeah, so here you see the green part in the front and about, I think it's 6/10 of an acre of the B3, and then join those parcels to be all B3. And then this is the retail development. It'll be stormwater detention, a retail store, parking, outflow pipe.
The only thing I could speak to the constituents that know the drainage issue is that anything that, if the board should approve this rezoning tonight, it'll be subject to any construction to the Georgia Water that they will require engineering plans that do not allow the water to move from that property any faster than it does now. So if they can't meet those requirements, they won't be able to build what they're build. So the non-permeable surfaces are more strictly controlled than they were many, many years ago. I remember when I lived in John Glenn, I used to flood as well. Things are better from that standpoint there.
Can I speak to you from here?
Well, it's difficult for you to get up in it.
Okay.
Why don't you get up, if it's difficult for you,
Yeah.
No, it isn't difficult.
okay, he can communicate for
They
you.
built a retention pond, okay, Carlton used to be no houses there. There's lots of houses. The water from the Lynn Brannon side of Carlton, it used to be a scummy little pond even when there was a drought. So, okay, they built houses down Carlton and they put a pipe underneath and you go to Carlton, the other side of Carlton, and those houses that are on McCall Road, they have got a pond there that goes up and down, and I hear people have termites there. Is that the same as a retention pond? Do you know what I'm talking about? You need to take a walk down there, all of you, and see what I'm talking about before you do some of this. Those people there on Carlton and McCall Road, they have got a big bunch of water that they call a pond behind their house. That was built by American Builder or whoever put those houses up. So now you're talking about another retention pond.
Well, it could be, but the issue there is that the water cannot leave their property any faster than it does right now after they construct it. So if they dig a retention pond on their property, that would be their right to be able to do that. They just cannot put water on anybody else's property from the non-permeable surfaces they may
See,
be.
but it's coming from the property you're talking about, that side of Carlton, onto the other side.
I understand, I'm just trying to let you know that Georgia controls that water leaving the property.
I think
So
somebody
we're
took a few
more
bucks
focused on
under
the
the
zoning
table.
tonight. Is it in line with the area as far as the commercial area and the residential? That's more the question in my mind tonight.
My mind is, I wish you would go and put your eyes on what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else speaking against this tonight?
Elizabeth Davis, 115 Charlton Road. Deck, years ago, they built that property up and it pushed all the water over to our side. We never had a problem with flooding. And now since the last time it was approved for all this storage or whatnot, I look out my door and this is the garbage I see. And this is concerning enough with all the dump trucks shining their lights in your bedroom windows at night, you know, it's because when it was developed, it wasn't developed to the point to where it was going to shine on the owner's property. No, it shines on everybody else over there on Charlton Road. Dump trucks coming and going. When they were paving 21, it was all night, coming and going from out of there. You know, this is what we've dealt with for years. Now the store, and what concerns me about the store, the woods, the little woods that's between the property, it's barely anything there, really. I mean, it maybe on the map it looks more filled in, but it's very thin. And so we're going to have all this traffic, you know, coming and going from the store, people pulling up, sitting in the parking lot with the boom box going, boom, boom, boom in our living room, you know? and the noise, not just the flooding, but the noise, you know? This is literally in our backyard. I mean, how many Dollar Generals do we need in Effingham? They're becoming like Circle K's on every corner. I mean, you know, we really don't need another Dollar General in my backyard. I'm just being honest. Do you want to look out your backyard and see this garbage?
Well, I would hope, and I'm not saying what the board can do that, but I would hope that this company with a Dollar General, they usually keep a lot cleaner operations than what you're witnessing there. I'll share one of the concerns that I have is that I'm not sure how you zone that anything but commercial, because I don't know how residential is going to go in there.
Well, my concern is like...
You got that one kind of commercial building there, that's a blight. If we can remove that blight and get a more structured business, it seems like it might be a better solution.
What's there is like a huge shed that they park dump trucks under. Yeah, and there's never been RVs or boats or anything like that. You know, it's just...
I guess I'm suggesting Dollar General might be a little better off.
Oh, it would definitely be a better as far as sight see, but then, like I said, with the noise, you know, we're going to continue on what we've dealt with since 2013 when they, again, illegally built up that land and pushed all the water on our side, and then, you know, the noise and everything. I mean, I was dealing with, they have a canopy over there that they were pulling car engines all night. Flipping cars.
You're talking about something different now.
I know, but I'm just saying that the noise thing is going to be a continuation. You know, I understand that it's a whole different organization, whole different business, but you're still going to have, you know, the trash truck coming in there to empty their dumpster 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because they don't do that during the day, not for businesses. You know, you're going to have a lot of other things going on, you know, of deliveries, and I just would like, you know, not only just the pond, the retention pond, but some sort of sound barrier other than a wooden fence, you know? I am a type person, live and let live. I don't begrudge anyone to doing whatever they want with their property. It's their property, but when you affect those around you, there has to be some sort of guidelines. You guys are the gatekeepers. You've got to protect us. You wouldn't do it in your backyard. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking against this tonight? Come to the microphone, please, sir.
Gary Lander, live at 107 John Glenn Drive. And a lot of what the lady that just spoke had to say to y'all has resulted since the most recent permit was granted to that property. And from my interpretation of what was allowed and what wasn't allowed, it would seem as though there's been some violations up till now. And the biggest single one that I can think of has been the filter indiscriminately being brought in and the terrain altered in such a way that the watershed now goes into her property and the adjoining properties, where it blends with the water already coming down her road that comes down from McCall. And it comes down her road and it comes down to John Glenn. It turns in John Glenn and tries to go toward Oglethorpe, where it backs up. And all those houses toward the intersection of Oglethorpe and John Glenn experience near flooding conditions, to the point where the woman on the very inside corner elbow of that intersection, she's she's beside herself when it gets like that. I can look across the street and see sandbags in the front of the house across the street from me, which is 102 John Glenn Drive. Never had to experience anything like that before. I don't know if part of it's because of the construction that took place on McCall Road when it was developed most recently, or whether it's a combination of that plus the fill dirt that's been brought in onto the property that you're about to consider for rezoning right now. But I'm not putting a lot of faith in a detention pond or retention pond being the cure-all silver bullet for the problems that we're experiencing already. And I think that rather than just looking from this point forward, we need to look from this point backwards to see what's been done that shouldn't have been done. That property, from what I understand, it was supposed to be only for the storage of boats and recreational vehicles. It's got everything else back there but that. There's storage containers, big storage containers. There was an operation in the back, I guess, where there was mechanical work being done at night. A whole host of things that are happening back there that probably shouldn't have been happening, but nobody was enforcing it. But site development plans shall comply with the Effingham County Water Resources Protection Ordinance and the Stormwater Management Local Design Manual. To the best of my knowledge, a site development plan was never submitted. And by the definition of the stormwater control...
You're talking about for the current use?
Yeah.
Yeah, it may not have been. It's been there since 1986 or something, I don't know. Can you answer that?
Well, I don't know the entire history. In 2013 was the rezoning to B3, and I have not been able to locate any site development plans for any business there. I think it's one of those things where it slowly grew over time, and we weren't alerted, so it wasn't something that was on our radar.
So that storage building was built in 2013?
I don't know when the storage building was built. The dark square in the center was rezoned in 2013.
The stipulations.
As I remember, there was a time there were some campers and boats there, and then the applicant asked to rezone it because he wanted to put trucks and equipment there.
It kind of morphed.
Right. I do remember there were campers and boats there for a while, then it was heavy equipment. But there's no permanent structure there other than like a carport, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
There's nothing there now but just a carport, like far as a structure.
I'm not really as familiar with it as someone living closer to it is. You'd have to ask them. I can't answer that honestly. But there's a couple things in your flood damage prevention, chapter 34, county chapter. Unless specifically defined below, words or phrases used in this chapter shall be interpreted as so to give them the meaning they have in common usage and to give this chapter its most reasonable application. Development. This paragraph here defines development. Means any man-made change to improved or unimproved real estate, including but not limited to buildings or other structures, mining, dredging, filling, grading, paving, excavating, drilling operations, and storage of materials or equipment.
There is currently a building there that these RVs are supposed to be parked in, boats and so forth, or is that just a lot?
There's a shelter there, carport type of cover in the back.
Carport type of shelter.
Right.
Okay.
So since there's not, a building in the normal sense of a warehouse or...
There's no foundation?
Not with the intent of a structure being there, but filling is filling.
Or site development plan submitted as far as I could ever tell. The rezoning took place, but I don't know of any...
Should there be a site plan?
Probably. I don't know why there wasn't... I don't know the entire history of if storage took place before then, and maybe this was just a way to make it legit at the time.
All right, I want to close back in line. Ms. Lander, I think we got a couple of different things you're asking about is any violations of the current. That's a total other issue for the rezoning tonight. But we do need to look at that. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention to see if there's any violations with this. But the zoning here tonight is that property owners requesting a rezoning to B3 of the front part. That's already B3 right there.
Where the vehicles are, yes, but the front car, where there's
So what we're looking at is going to move that all the way to McCall Road. That one little section there, that's what we need to stay focused on
and
now.
eliminate the use that's currently there.
Right.
Well, if I may, I'd like to express disapproval of that happening there, even though I don't have to look at it from my house. It just seems like it's a poor fit being so close to a residential area with houses immediately next to it, behind it. It just doesn't seem a natural fit. The traffic, like someone else brought up, going through the subdivision, that's going to be going back and forth to go to that location. The litter, the noise that's going to accompany that, the nighttime activities, parking lot sweeping, dumpster emptying, stuff like that. It's going to be right in these people's backyards. And
Those could be legitimate concerns. I do know that we had this when I was in Rankin, and they had the Dollar General that was put on 21 there. There was a house to the left, there's two houses behind, and they had similar concerns. One of the things we did there is we required that they put up a fence that was high enough so they wouldn't see the lights when they pulled into the parking lot, and we required them to do that.
How close?
But they've been a very good, if you look at the Dollar General in Rankin, they've been a very good neighbor to those houses that are around them. They usually keep a fairly clean, position.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just, how close were they to the adjacent residential
That was
area?
right in the backyard. That was their concern about it. There's one right beside and two houses right behind it. And one of the ladies' sons was on the council. He was getting the airport, but they proved to be a good neighbor. We probably need to see if you have new objections, but the drainage has to be a water and sewer thing that's done by Georgia Water. Don't know how the board will vote tonight, but I would like to see.
Well, it's stormwater. It's stormwater that's the concern.
Stormwater.
Yeah.
It's a Georgia Water. They address that. They'll make sure the engineering, we will have a site plan for this under this one. I can assure you they'll have the Georgia Water approval, how it's not going to flood anybody else's property. In my mind, that question's answered because of what we have in place today and what we require, what Georgia requires. The other thing that the board's going to look at that we're addressing is, should that be a B3? That's the real question tonight, not non-compliance. But you've got B3 behind it. Should it be B3 from there forward? That's what the board's going to be addressing. And I hear you saying, Mr. Knight, you still object to it. For the reasons you give.
All right. Well, maybe at a future date, maybe we could have another conversation concerning just exclusively the drainage, particularly in our area. I'd like that to happen one day.
Yeah, and one thing might help you, Mr. Chairman, we are planning to do a county-wide storm drainage study. We're also doing some traffic studies. We're trying to do some things to prepare for the future that probably should have been done years ago. But this board is trying to be very proactive with that, to look at where our water's going, how can we channel it better, and help a lot of properties. We unfortunately have a very flat community in Effingham County. We don't have the luxury of the hills as you move toward Middle Georgia. So we'll do a county-wide drainage study and see if we can eliminate some of these drainage issues. For this piece of property, the water cannot leave, and we'll assure through our engineers and Georgia Water that it will not leave faster than it does right now. If it's a problem right now, that's something we have to address with our future.
We've got a very fragile drainage situation. Very fragile. That's the reason why I'm here. It's very delicate. And it doesn't take much. You've got whatever stormwater can percolate into the ground at that site right now, percolate. What's running off of it as a result of the fill dirt brought in, that comes into the front, into her property on Charlton, and it merges, like I say, with the stormwater coming down McCall, going down Charlton, and merging with the water on John Glenn, and then trying to flow back up toward 21, and when it hits Oglethorpe, everything stops, and it just backs up and backs up, and you watch it.
If the board does approve this now, they're going to have the staff look at that very closely, I'm sure.
I hope so. I hope so.
Did you want this back?
No, you can keep that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else tonight speaking against this rezoning? Anyone here speak for this rezoning?
Thank you. My name is Philip McCorkle. I'm here for Terrymore Development. Mr. Buck Buckley Davis from the developer is sitting over here, and then our engineers here as well. Engineers here because we heard the concerns of the folks that live in the vicinity at the planning and zoning meeting about drainage. And I know the chairman and members of this board recognize that my client didn't create a drainage issue. My client is not running the truck yard back there that's an eyesore, and those are the two things that seem to be the biggest concerns of the neighbors. I noticed that three of the folks that spoke are from John Glenn, which this is an 7.5, 8 acre piece of ground this lady owns, and we're gonna buy 1 3/4 acres in the front if we get this rezoned and build our store. So there'll be 5.5 acres between us and John Glenn where she'll continue to live. So it's not like any store will be built anywhere near John Glenn. Looking at what it is near, it sits on the McCall Road, of course, and on the right-hand side, if you're staring at from McCall Road into the site, is a shopping center across the street from McCall Road, which would be behind you if you were looking at the site. There's a paint and body shop. On the far side would be this lady's 5 acres where she will continue to live. And so on the left-hand side, there are 3 houses that are near, that sit on Charlton that would back up to this site. And then we're protecting those to the best of our ability with a fence. There's a 30-foot wide drive area where the lady who continues to live there will drive to her home, and then 30 feet of landscape buffer. So there's a good buffer for the houses, and I think the chairman is correct. Dollar General does a good job at taking care of their properties. As far as the drainage, although we hadn't got it rezoned yet, we had our engineer look at the drainage situation so that we could assure ourselves when we promised that we would take the water out to McCall Road, which is one of the requests from folks living on Charlton, is that the water go toward McCall Road because then it can drain down toward 21 in whichever direction it goes in the ditch, roadside ditch on McCall. And that drawing that I guess is on your right-hand side, I'm not sure, that shows with the drainage pipe, what I'm looking at, indicates that we can do that. And we're going to build a detention pond, which is significantly larger than what is needed to serve our site. Our building is only 9,100 square feet. The detention pond we can fit on the site is 11,500 square feet, 3 feet deep. It'll hold much, much more water than our site will generate, and will therefore help siphon off some of the water that has become a problem for the folks on Charlton. And we're doing that to be good neighbors, to do what we can. We can't fix all the drainage issues in that area of the county, but we can ameliorate the effect that's in that immediate vicinity by doing this extraordinarily large detention area and having the water piped down to McCall Road. So with that, I think will be an improvement because the truck yard will go away, which is horrible and people think it's horrible, and the drainage will get, I think, measurably better, certainly not worse. And I think it's a good commercial site, and I think they'll be good neighbors. Thanks.
And on that road, we have lot 115, 16, 17, you said there's going to be a fence.
Yes, a fence right on their back property line. And then the drive that go to the lady's house, and then the 30-foot of landscape buffer.
Okay. Where are you going to put the dumpster for the pickup?
Looks to me like, Bucky, can you tell?
Top left corner of the building.
Top left corner of the building up there, which is near the detention pond in the back.
Yeah, will you be picking up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning?
No.
No, sir.
I was going to say,
No,
it
sir.
should be a requirement. They didn't come, I think, till after 7.
I don't know any of it.
No.
That hour of the day.
And the store must be open when they come to
Yeah,
do
right.
Okay, so it'd be around 7 or 8 o'clock?
it. Yeah, I'd say 7 or 8 o'clock at the latest.
Okay. I know that's what happened in a couple we had in the Macon area.
And then the traffic, we've only got curb cut on the McCall Road, so it's not like we've got a curb cut going over to Charlton or to encourage anybody to drive on Charlton.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else speaking for tonight?
I would like to add something to that.
If you've got something new, this is speaking against?
Yes.
Okay. We keep it moving, so if you got something new,
Okay,
you
well,
got to
the garbage pickup, They do it 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because that's when I hear it. I can hear it from over where the Lovett's is, when the dumpsters are being emptied. It is 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. When Atlantic or whoever picks up their waste, when they go in there, and the big dumpsters, yes, it is wee hours of the morning when they empty all those around
That's
Lovett's.
Atlantic, but we can check into that. That sounds like a non-compliance issue there. Okay. Anyone else speaking for tonight? I think we've heard everyone, and we'll close the public hearing, so there's any question or discussion from the board. Any additional questions or discussion from the board?
Just a little discussion. I mean, I think, one of the things I'll always look for is conformity in the area, and there's conformity in the area. There's, looking at the truck yard and everything else that's there, I would think it'd be a major improvement site-wise. I understand everybody's upset about the drainage and the water back there. I can't see this thing adding any more water than we're already experiencing. I would think it would help somewhat if we directed some of the water properly. This place has been not graded sufficiently, apparently. There's been some things that's going on in the back without site plans, and who knows what's piled up back there. Now we'll have something at least, hopefully, if the board sees fit. If we allow this, that would take away some of the water, help some of that. As far as the trash trucks, Mr. Corbett said, we can look into that and make sure that it doesn't have that wee hours in the morning. I don't know if any of the trash trucks are allowed to pick up wee hours at night. If they are, we need to know about it. Hopefully do something about it. Dump trucks in the middle of the night. The one thing, I did have a question. At what time does Dollar General close?
9, generally 10 o'clock at the latest.
10 o'clock in the latest.
Depends on the store, how their sales go, 9 and 10.
Yes, sir. So you've got, that in the corner too. That's my thoughts on it currently. I think it would actually be an improvement if everybody would give it a chance.
Any other discussion or questions? I'm entertaining a motion.
I make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd to approve alternative one. Alternative one for the public notice to approve it from AR1 to B3 as is requested. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. And the rezoning is unanimous. Moving to the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Taylor Moore Development as agent for land Michael Brennan to rezone 1.12 acres out of 1.76 acres located on Carl Road from AR1 to B3, map number 465M, parcel number 3B in the second district. Motion to approve the second reading.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Locher to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. And that carries unanimously. We appreciate those who participated tonight. We did hear your concerns, and we will follow up on those. I think it will be a good addition to the community that fits the zone. Moving to new business. Item number 1, contract, consideration to approve contract 21-14-001 with Evergreen Solutions LLC for a classification and compensation study for Effingham County.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I'm Vicki Dunn, HR Director. In September of this year, we let out our RFP looking for a company to provide a compensation and classification study for Effingham County employees. We received 8 quotes from the proposal. The proposal that we selected is Evergreen Solutions, which is for $18,500, which is underneath the amount under the budgeted amount for the item, and staff recommends alternative 1.
Okay, any questions or discussion? These are all positions elected or non-elected in that.
Yes.
The motion to approve alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative one. Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, is that Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Second by Mr. Floyd. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Item number 2, application consideration to approve, to ratify, and affirm submittal of the application to Georgia Healthcare Preparedness Program for supplemental funding support as a response to COVID-19.
Good evening, Christy Carpenter, Finance Director. Georgia's HPP received supplemental funding, which allowed coalition members to apply for additional funds for COVID-19 projects. This application deadline was October 23rd, so we had to go ahead and submit that. In the application, we requested funding for EMA to purchase additional PPE. So staff is recommending alternative number 1, ratification of the submission.
Okay, any question or discussion? Motion for alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve alternate 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second Mr. Deloach to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Item number 3, contract, consideration to approve the contract 21-005 to Cooper Construction for the renovation of the new administrative building on South Laurel Street.
Good evening, Allison Bruton, Purchasing Tech, or Purchasing Agent now, sorry. An ITB was posted to solicit seal bids for the renovations for the new admin building located at 802 and 804 South Laurel Street. Sealed bids were accepted on October 19th, 2020, with Copper Construction being the lowest qualified bidder, and staff recommends alternative 1. Any questions?
Any questions or discussion? I got one quick question. This 70 days, 100 days, 150, that's not in addition to like 70 and then another 150, 150?
Correct. It's 70, and then from the 70, an additional 30 would be the 100 days, and then so on. So it's not an additional 100 after the 70.
Okay. So in 150 days, we should have everything done.
Yes, sir.
Start, finish, okay. Motion to approve alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Okay. I'll take Mr. Deloach's on that, and I'll take you together in a second. Mr. Local, you getting this one, okay? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries unanimously. Item number 4, consideration to approve to accept a grant award from the Georgia contract 21-19-001 with custom truck and body work for the purchase of the ambulance.
Yes, sir. So seal bids were received on October 22nd. The full bid tabulation should be included in your agenda packets. First class emergency vehicles was the lowest bidder. However, they listed an exception regarding the requested ducted system in the vehicle. Custom truck and body works listed no exceptions in their proposal. So EMS staff has requested approval of alternative 1, which is to purchase the vehicle from Custom Body and Truck.
Questions or discussion? Motion for alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper for alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Item number 5, grant. Consideration to approve to submit a pre-application for a coastal incentive grant for RB Baker Park improvements.
Chris Knox here, EOM Operations. We originally planned on doing the RB Baker, but due to the urgency of those repairs, that work's going to be done prior to the grant award. So what we did was modify that for a stormwater comprehensive plan. This will follow the stormwater feasibility plan. What this plan will do is prioritize all the areas of concern, prioritize capital improvement projects, and identify the funding needs. The CIG grant, this is the pre-application process. This is due December 4th. This is not a guarantee. This is not the full application. This is just kind of the preliminary reports that we send in. They offer a 2-year option. It's $80,000 per year with a 1-to-1 match on those fundings. They will do $80,000 for the first year and then $80,000 for the second year.
This is for Baker Pond.
No, this is not for Baker Pond. Baker Pond was removed. This is for the stormwater comprehensive.
And the reason being,
From the Baker Pond to the stormwater, that's what's confusing me.
Yeah.
To the stormwater stage.
Yes, because Baker Pond needs to be done before October. And this will not begin until October 2022.
Gotcha. Okay.
and this timing would work out very well with the completion of the feasibility study and then moving into the master plan for the stormwater system for the county. And we have also, I think there's a higher likelihood of getting approved under a coastal incentive grant for a stormwater program than the parks. We attempted to get approved for McCall Park last year and we didn't. And so we think, A, the timing's better for us, and B, we think it's got a higher probability of approval.
And we have
So
been
can
working.
this be used to pay the Pittman contract?
No, you cannot do it with Pittman. I do apologize, but it cannot start until October 2021. So anything that is going to be for this grant cannot begin prior to that. So you're going to want to
So this
start
would be
your.
actually used to implement some of the.
Yes,
stormwater
exactly. And we
things
have.
that they come up with.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have been talking to the grant coordinator, and Sharon has as well, working on this application, and they've offered to review it, just preliminary documents to make sure everything's in line, so.
So it's a coastal incentive grant for stormwater.
Stormwater comprehensive plan.
Not the Baker Pond.
Correct.
You got that noted? All right, any question or discussion? I'm going to read this since it's not the same way as it's in the agenda. Need a motion to consider to approve to accept a grant, to approve to submit a pre-application for a coastal incentive grant for storm water comprehensive plan.
Correct.
Okay, that's the motion.
Correct.
A motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lowe, second by Mr. Floyd, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it's unanimous. Thank you, Kristen. Resolution number 6, consideration to approve resolution of surplus.
Yes, sir. Good evening again. Allison Bruton, purchasing agent. The resolution of surplus consists of the Treatland building and the central playground equipment. Staff recommends alternative 1.
Any questions or discussion? Motion for alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Deloche to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it's unanimous. Approved. Item number 7, contract. Consideration to approve contract 21-003 to Pond and Company for the Transportation Master Plan.
Yes, sir. An RFP was posted for professional services for the Transportation Master Plan. Sealed bids were received on October 23rd, with Pond and Company being the lowest qualified bidder. Charles George did review the submittals and recommends alternative 1, which is award of the contract to Pond and Company.
And just for the record, I checked with the county manager and asked him about all the deliverables are the same with this company, and Charles tells me they're experts at what they're doing.
And they're what?
Yes, and so
Because it's like $200,000 difference. I want to make sure we're getting all the same deliverables from this contract.
Yes, sir. That's why I included that he reviewed them.
yeah, so the scope is the same for all the bids that came in. Charlie is familiar with the firm. He said they're very reputable in this field. And everything that all the other bidders would have to deliver, they're going to have to deliver at that price.
Awesome. It's great. Just want to go on the record and make sure that was clear.
Yes, sir.
We're not just biting off the lowest bid at this point. We need the expert to do a good study on this traffic to the handle. Very good. All right. Any other questions, discussions, or a motion for alternative 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1. Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries unanimously. Item number 8, consideration to approve an intergovernmental agreement between Georgia Department of Corrections and Effingham County GED testing.
Yes, sir. The purpose of this agreement is for the Georgia Department of Corrections to provide paper-based GED testing services for offenders at the Effingham County Prison at the rate of $30 per test content area per tester. This contract is necessary because Savannah Tech is no longer willing to come into the prison to administer these tests because of COVID. So staff recommends alternative 1.
Questions or discussion? Motion for alternative 1.
I'm going to approve number 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Burdette, to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries unanimously. Item number 9, consideration to approve a contract for engineering consulting services with Charles George.
Yes, sir. So this agreement allows for Charles George to provide remote support to county staff as needed, and he'll be working as an independent contractor and not as an employee of Effingham County. Staff recommends alternative one.
Any questions, discussion?
Make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Lopez, to approve the contract, which I'll note is alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Thank you.
And that carries unanimously. New business number 10, consideration to approve the addition of a position of assistant county manager to the 2021 budget.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're requesting the position of an assistant county manager, and this actually will also encompass the responsibilities of the Director of Development Services, the county engineer. And we just feel that with the continued growth of Effingham County and associated increase in services, particularly with some of the larger projects coming up, T-SPLOS, Transportation Master Plan, Stormwater Master Plan, Utility Infrastructure Master Plan, that this position is warranted.
I think one of our commissioners was going to make a motion just to clone you, but since we can't do that, we'll entertain this motion.
After we okay this, advertise for these people after we okay this, and what's the proper time frame?
If we, there's not a necessity to advertise for the position if we have a candidate in mind, but we can open up the position if we see fit. But our goal is to fill the position as quickly as possible.
Well, it's nice though to advertise it, then everybody, you can find out. I know you've got somebody in mind, but still it's sort of fair to give everybody a chance that wants it.
I agree.
And many times we do that, whether times for just 15 days, just to make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's.
We can do that.
You can still pick the one you want, but
That's right, absolutely.
you give
I
them a chance.
I think I agree. I would do that. I'd advertise for 15 days because you don't know what might come to us, and we dot our i's, cross our t's that way, and ensure we're the best position.
Okay.
I do have a question on the position. Is it possible for this new position to be cross-trained in some key areas in case we lose people that can fill into those spots instead of just having a list of areas that they're taking care of? I know we've lost people come and go to different things, and our staff has to absorb that in some way.
Sure.
We're going to take on the extra money to do this. I'd love to see somebody cross-train in some different areas. If we lose somebody gets sick, who knows, that can fill in some of these areas.
Absolutely, that's the goal. But not only in the positions that this position would be directly supervising, but also in the circumstances if I were to be out for a good period of time, they can also assume administration temporarily of the positions that will be directly administrated by me. So
I
in
wouldn't
both
expect him to be
directions.
an engineer or anything. but
What?
I wouldn't expect him to be an engineer or anything, but, for
Right.
things like you're talking about and other positions, it'd be great to have.
Okay.
But it wouldn't hurt if they were an engineer.
No, it wouldn't. It certainly wouldn't.
You kill two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Any other question, discussion? Motion to approve alternative one.
Make a motion to approve number one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Burdette to approve alternative one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries unanimously. I think at 6 o'clock, we got two quick items. We're going to try to finish these up before we go to our public hearings. Item number 11, consideration to approve a quote from Bath Branch Augusta LLC for stream mitigation credits related to the Effingham Parkway.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there are two types of credits that we need to purchase for Effingham Parkway. The first being stream, second being wetland, which is the next one on there. The stream is the less expensive one. And this would allow us to purchase them and so that we have everything in place to get our full environmental permit prior to letting in, which is scheduled to be in May of this year.
And I'm going to ask my questions related to the next one. We need to pay that now, because we were putting that off until we're ready to let the contract.
Yeah, on the stream, there's a larger quantity of them, so there's no reason to put that off.
But how about the next one?
On the wetlands, we would have to purchase them in order to retain the pricing they gave us prior to the end of this calendar year.
Okay, so we need to go ahead and purchase them.
We need to go ahead and purchase them, or I've been told that they are going to increase the pricing on them.
I'd like to see us go ahead and split this to bed. We've been talking about this project for 15 years. Let's pay the credit to be done. We're good with GDOT then, and let's just move forward.
And one of the issues was there was some, the Ogeechee Basin might have come available or something, right? And it was going to be a lot less money, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, but I mean, we're kind of getting to the edge now. We've got to pull the trigger.
And it sounds to be about a 30%, a 40% increase in price if we were to wait till after January 1. But I tried to get them to extend it until March. They denied that request under the existing pricing.
And I agree with holding out to see what the outcome was there. But since that was denied, I was thinking to move forward.
And who knows? I can wait. I intend. This gives me the approval to purchase it. There is no benefit for us purchasing this till the end of this calendar year, and there is a benefit in us waiting as long as we can to the end of the calendar year to purchase it. So I would do that.
I think there's some cheaper credits we might can get into, but I'm with Commissioner Deloach that we've got to buy them now. If that's what they're telling us, then they could go up. So you have the authority if they approve this, and then wait till the last day of December if you can.
How many credits break it? Two.
On the stream, it's 110, but on the wetlands, I think it's 20,000. If I'm correct on that.
20,790.
Yeah, 20,790 per credit.
Per credit. How many credits per acre?
I don't know. I just know how much we're going to need, which is 167.92 credits, which is according to the Corps of Engineers.
Okay, any other question, discussion? Motion to approve alternative one.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper, approve alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries unanimously. And we've really already had introductions. Down number 12, consideration to approve a quote from A.A. Shaw LLC for wetland mitigation credits related to the Effingham Parkway. That's alternative one. That's the bigger one that Tim was saying we need to go ahead and purchase that for the year or to draw 30 or 40%. So alternative one is to give them authority to go ahead and purchase that prior to the end of the year. Have a motion to approve alternative one.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries unanimously. And that carries just a little bit past 6. We need to have our planning board here. Anyone on the board here break for 5 minutes? All right. If you're here for a planning board, we'll take a 5-minute restroom break, so we don't have to do that in the middle of the hearings. So I apologize for just a little tardy, but we can get back to 10. We'll okay? 5-minute break.
Here. Yes, So anyway,
Thanks for showing up. I should leave you open up all the mail and do all that stuff.
I'll make sure to tell Laura how much she's missed, and that you didn't even have a fancy binder.
I didn't have a fancy binder.
It's not a problem.
And I had to have 50 to take care of that.
We need everybody back to the desk and just my number. If we get everybody back, we can probably get started.
Here's the form taken. Like, I didn't realize she was out, but I guess it's good to get it somewhere. So do you want to do all this is the same? Yes.
I want to keep that.
okay, well, well, they get your red anyway, I made out a whole bunch of
Below it is the stormwater maintenance agreement.
Are we ready?
They kind of sitting out thinking, this is something that someone in the county needs to sign. We don't have to sign a bunch of unsigned ones sitting around, but I mean, they signed it on their file, so.
Now, we're going to go ahead and go back to the regular session.
This last year.
And move to our planning board
About getting another one.
hearings tonight. Item number 1, under public hearing. The planning board recommends approving the application by Darrell Hutchison for a variance to the front building setback requirement 50 foot to 25 foot located at 461 Metlaw Avenue to allow for the replacement of a dwelling. This is map number 296A, parcel number 124 in the first district.
All right, in this case, as you see, this is a very small lot, and that's the issue. It's 6/10 of an acre. It's zoned AR1. It's zoned AR1, but it's one of those non-conforming lots that's much smaller than it needs to be. In any case, there was previously a mobile home on it, and that was removed, and the applicant wishes to place a new mobile home on it. And because of the way the infrastructure, the power line and everything has been placed on the lot due to the original mobile home, he really has a very limited area in which to place the new one. And so he's asking for, when he came in for the building permit application, we noted that the front setback for AR1 is 50 feet, and that's simply impossible given the way the lot is currently.
So it's a hardship.
It is definitely a hardship, yes.
All right, to open the public hearing, anyone tonight speaking for this rezoning? For this variance? Anyone tonight speaking against this variance request? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. If there's any questions or discussion from the board. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second. Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Burdette to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. And it carries unanimously. We have the second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Darrell Hutchison for a variance to the front building setback requirements 50 foot, 25 foot, located at 461 Metlaw Avenue to allow for the replacement of a dwelling map number 296A, parcel number 124 in First District. Motion approved, second reading.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Burdette, approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no, and it carries unanimously. Item number 3, Planning Board recommends approving an application by Charles Harrelson for New Life Apostolic Church to rezone 3.3 acres located at 3415 Blue Jay Road from I-1 to AR2 to allow use of an existing building as a church, map number 374, parcel 4B in the First District.
So this was rezoned to industrial in 2014, and the parcel was split a year later, and the accessory building that's there was permitted in 2014, and then it was split a year later. And really, they should have probably rezoned the northern section at the time, but they didn't, so it remained in industrial zone, but no surface mining took place on that section. The surface mine, as you can see, is all on the southern section. So the church wishes to use that building for services, and they will need to rezone to AR2 in order to do so.
Okay, anyone, open up the hearing tonight, anyone speaking for this rezoning?
Hi, I'm Michael Griffiths. I would be the pastor of the church, and we would just like to see this go through.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else speaking for? Anyone here tonight speaking against this rezoning? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions, discussion from the board? Motion to approve alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Loper, to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed no. And it carries unanimously. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Charles Harrison for the New Life Apostolic Church to rezone 3.3 acres located at 3415 Blue Jay Road from I-1 to AR2 to allow use of an existing building as a church, map number 374, parcel 4 being the first district. Motion to approve second reading.
Make a motion to approve the second reading. Second.
Motion, Mr. Floyd, second, Mr. Deloach, to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And it carries unanimously. Item number 5, the planning board recommends approving an application by Simcoe Investment Group, Trey Price, as agent for Nefer Land Management to rezone 42.60 acres located on 3J Road at McCall Road from AR1 to R6 for development of a 123 lot subdivision, map number 432, parcel number 4, should be B, or is it 48? 48 in the second district.
So as you know, rezoning to R6 has a special, more specific requirements than some of our other ordinances, zoning districts. So in this case, the specific requirement is that eligibility is based on whether water and sewer are easily accessible to the parcel, and in this case they are. It took a little discussion with EOM to ensure that we did have capacity, and the applicants did do some modeling, but everyone ended up being satisfied that there was going to be sufficient capacity.
Okay. We'll open a public hearing. Anyone not speaking for this rezoning?
Yes, my name is Alec Metzger. I work with EMC Engineering. We're working with the developer on this project. Basically, to reiterate, we're asking to go to R6. Water and sewer is available. Also, some modifications to Blue Jay Road is being planned by the county. They've had Parker Engineering do a plan for that intersection, so we kind of overlaid that on the plan so you can see it and how all that'll work in the future. County's also got plans being worked on to extend the water main along McCall Road and right by this property, and connect to near Blandford Crossing. Sewer and reuse are located near Blandford Crossing, so even if the county didn't extend the water main on around, that's something that's easily tied into. So that's what we were looking at doing. One thing that came up during at the planning and zoning meeting was a access and drainage easement. So I can fill you in a little bit on what I found out about that. Mr. Craig Kessler was the one who brought it up, and he provided me with a copy of a drainage easement. And basically it goes, if you're looking to the west, down the west kind of property line, down through the detention pond at the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is it that line?
Yeah, if you go straight up all the way up to the top, yep, right there.
Okay.
So that's a 50-foot drainage easement. 20 foot of it is a maintenance road. 30 foot of it is a ditch. So the county has a drainage easement there across this property, and then 2 other properties down to the creek. That easement we're aware of now. We'll work around that. Some options are we can relocate it, we could pipe it, we could do whatever, but we'll still maintain that drainage for the county through this property. Mr. Kessler's, I guess, more related concern was access to some of his property that is to the south of this piece. They kind of currently use, I think, that access along the ditch to access that property. From what we discussed and what we saw, it doesn't look like that's a real recorded easement. That's just something, I guess, that they do. So we came up with a couple of different options to provide him access, and discuss that with him, and the developer's willing to help provide some sort of access from the subdivision road to that ditch for him to maintain access to some of his property. So if you got any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
So there'll be a site plan later. This is just preliminary, right?
Yeah, so what we came for tonight is rezoning first and then just sketch plan. So the sketch plan shows just a general layout and kind of the expected number of lots that we could probably get.
There might be some things we can look at, decel, XL lanes, that's a lot of traffic on Blue Jay. I don't know. We're gonna do some work on that, I'm not sure what we're gonna be doing.
Yeah, I can show you if you got the.
I know we're doing it to the curb, but I'm not sure about that little section in there. Are we gonna be having 3 lanes in there? Because that's later, I just bring that up, that site plan, we need to make sure we consider all the traffic safeties as well as the drainage easements and all.
Yeah, if you'll flip back one. So let's see. So right now, so here's the railroad track, here's Blue Jay Road, and here is
President
McCall Road.
Yeah.
So the county has already got a plan done and has a right of way. So what'll happen is McCall Road is basically going to stop. It'll be kind of cul-de-sac and it'll be just for access of those properties. So Blue Jay Road will come here and then come up to a stop condition. Then this will come around and be a big curve. So what we did was take the entrance off of the plans that the county did, and that's how we located ours. Now of course we haven't got into the design of the actual improvement. So yeah, there may be some other things necessary.
I think keep in mind possibly the zone, I'm not sure the board's going to do, but I'm good with it. I like what I'm looking at, but I just know the traffic on Blue Jay is going to be crowded no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the future lane parkway that may go that way to get it to, 21. But just something to keep in mind on the plan, you might want to consider some kind of decel XL lane there just to make sure. A lot of traffic on Blue Jay going to school in the morning, for example.
Right.
And that little curve is not going to help that at all. It's going to help.
Well, so what the good, well, I guess it'll be good for, so this would be a stop condition here. So you'd be coming up to a stop. So the traffic flow is going to be around this way. This is going to be a big curve. So Blue Jay you'll just make.
It'll be slower traffic. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
So it'll be further away from the railroad tracks, further away from McCall Road and the Rankin side, and then it'll be a stop.
They should be doing about 20-25 by the time you get there versus the 45.
Yeah.
So, yeah, make a big difference on what we need. Just thoughts. Okay, any questions or anyone else speaking for that? Okay, anyone tonight speaking against this rezoning? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. See if there's any question, discussion on the board. Motion to approve alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1. Second.
Motion, Mr. Burdette, second, Mr. Loper, to approve alternative 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries unanimously. Move to second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Simcoe Investment Group, Clay Price as agent for Nefer Land Management to rezone 42.60 acres located on Blue Jay Road at McCall Road from AR1 to R6 for the development of a 123 lot subdivision map number 432, parcel number 48 in the second district. Motion to approve second reading.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Burdette, second, Mr. Loper, to approve second reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries unanimously. Item number 7, Planning Board recommends approving an application by Simcoe Investment Group, Clay Price as agent for Nefer Land Management for a sketch plan for 123 lot subdivision located on Blue Jay Road, map number 432, parcel number 8.
Do we need
Have some work to
anything?
do on that sketch plan then?
Sir?
The drainage, don't have some work to do on that sketch plan before we?
Yeah, to address that drainage easement, was there,
This is just the preliminary document, this is, the sketch plan is the concept, so with the input that the applicant has received, we'll expect to see that when the site plan is
Okay,
complete.
the site plan is the official, okay.
Yeah, so when we actually figure out whether we're going to pipe it or ditch it or relocate it, that'll show on the actual plans, and then that'll be,
Hence the word sketch.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
And not site plan. Okay. To make, you'd say what you're doing, they come with a sketch out of it? Okay. Thank you. Any question or discussion? Motion to approve alternative one?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burnett, second by Mr. Lewis, to approve alternative one. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. It carries. Move to a public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Clayton Danielle Laird to rezone 1.83 acres located at 7996 Highway 17 North, from AR1 to AR2, map number 208, parcel number 14 in the 3rd district.
Okay, this original parcel must have predated zoning because this tiny parcel was zoned AR1, and when the applicant approached me about signing the plat that showed additional acreage being added to it, you can see this is a property line adjustment to accommodate buildings that were straddling the property line, so it's really a minor adjustment, but I couldn't sign the plat because small parcel is zoned AR1 and it's less than 5 acres. So in order to be able to sign that survey, we need to rezone that small section, a total of 1.83 acres to AR2, so that I could sign the survey and then could move on.
Okay, anyone tonight speaking, welcome to public hearing, anyone speaking for this rezoning? Anyone tonight speaking against this rezoning? Seeing no one speaking for or against, we'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion for alternative one.
Make a motion to approve alternative one, staff and planning board recommendation.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loker, to approve alternative one, staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries unanimously. Move to second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Clayton Danielle Laird to rezone 1.83 acres located at 7996 Highway 17 North from AR1 to AR2, map number 208, parcel number 14 in the 3rd district. Motion to approve second reading.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loker, to approve second reading. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And it passes unanimously. Item number 10, public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Brenda N. Horton to rezone 2.66 acres located on Louisville Road from AR2 to AR1, map number 271, parcel number 6 in the 3rd district.
So this section here, you'll see it highlighted there, that 2.6 acres originally was part of the one in front of it, and it has gone through, at the time, in 98, it was rezoned so that it could be subdivided, but now a new owner is there and wants to recombine them, and in order to do that, she has to rezone the 2.6 acres back to AR1 so it can be combined. And she couldn't do
Anyone
that.
tonight, open the public hearing, anyone speaking for this rezoning? Anyone tonight speaking against this rezoning? Seeing no one speaking for or against, I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion for alternative one.
Make a motion to approve alternative one, staff and planning board recommendations.
Second.
Second, Mr. Loper. Motion by Mr. Lowe, second Mr. Loper, to approve alternative one, staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries unanimously. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Brenda N. Horton to rezone 2.66 acres located on Old Louisville Road from AR2 to AR1, map number 271, parcel number 6 in 3rd district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lowe, second Mr. Loper, to approve second reading. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And it carries unanimously. Item number 12, public hearing. The planning board recommends denying an application by Joseph Bouchard. Bouchard. Thank you. Sorry about that. As agent for Tim and Sherry Goros for a conditional use located at Watts Road near Floyd Avenue to establish a firearm range, map number 296, parcel number 11 in the 3rd district. The planning board is recommending deny it. Do you have a comment for me? Any discussion?
Originally, there were 2 gun ranges. One has been removed one has been withdrawn. And at the time, we basically were able to bring them through, with the same requirements. So it was a good learning experience. And, we discussed berms and we discussed operating hours and in fact, developed a set of questions and furnished them to both applicants and received responses. And those are summarized here under your executive summary, but basically proposed operating hours and the kind of training and whether or not ammunition is stored on site, in this case, no, and berms and shelter in place for safety. So all that information is included, and staff did recommend approval. We did not add additional stipulations. We thought that would be, if the board wished to highlight any of the particular conditions that relating to operating hours or anything like that, that you could do that. The planning board recommended against it.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone would like to speak for this conditional use?
Yes, sir. I'm speaking for, sir.
Okay.
I'm Joe Bouchard. I would be the proprietor of the range itself and the lead instructor for everything. We meet all DOD requirements on berm heights. Everything that we're looking at doing is a privatized range. It will not be open to the public. So everything will be controlled 100% by me with safeties on target. So there's no real risk of a Yahoo just shooting off anywhere. Berms themselves cover both sides of the range, so both on the left and right side, as well as directly behind where the impact zone itself would be. We do have cover that's out there. When you look to the right or the north side as the top of the picture, sir, all that land over there is landfill land that is beyond there. The location of the range itself is actually in a depression. So even though we do have berm heights that exceed the 16-foot Department of Defense requirements, there is additional height that goes beyond that with the depression itself from the previous use of that particular location. On the left-hand side is Tim Gorse's livestock. It's on the fence line itself. So we've been shooting out there for a while as a personal range of his, with full understanding of the sensitivity of the animals and stuff that are out there. The things that we're looking at doing out there is all lower caliber. We're not looking at trying to shoot 50 cals or do anything crazy out there. It's all pistol, pistol rounds, home defense specific type stuff. And then when the local law enforcement do come out there, we worked a little bit with Effingham County law enforcement, with the sheriff's department when they come out there for some marksmanship stuff. It's all with AR platforms, traditional shotguns for home defense, and your concealed carry type stuff. Again, every last one of those courses that we'd be running would be controlled with at least 2 safeties on site at any given time, plus me as the master instructor. If you guys need to see credentials or anything like that from me, sir, I'd be more than happy to be able to provide those. I am Sig Sauer certified, as well as I spent most of my time in the Ranger Regiment as their chief instructor over there for marksmanship. And I'm the chief force instructor for the American Krav Maga Federation and do the courses out in LA County for the sheriff's department out there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Any other questions, sir?
We'll see in just a minute. We'll hear from everyone, and then we'll open up for the board to ask questions. They may want you to come back.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else tonight speaking for this conditional use request application? Anyone tonight speaking against this?
I'm speaking against it.
Okay, if you're speaking against, come state your name and tell us your concerns.
My name is Bennett Smith, and I live close to the property that they want to put a gun range at. And I can really hear it close to my house, inside my house, when they firing off. Including, there would have been more people if they knew about it that would have been here. And would have been disagreeing with it. Because when they fire over there a couple of times before and using flashbangs, knock stuff off my walls. So there has been 3 complaints against them about that over there. So yeah, that's, and retired people over there and stuff like that, we're quiet over there, and that's way too noisy where they firing over there.
Where do you live at in relation to
I live on Watts Road, on 182 Watts Road.
Casey, can you show more of that side? So Commissioner Burnett.
This is Watts Road. I don't know exactly where 182 would be.
I'm on the curve, close where the, when you got the area for the gun range. Yes, right there in that area, yes.
Show
On the curve.
right there.
Close to where the landfill is and all. I'm across from the landfill.
Across from Mountain.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else tonight speaking against this application for conditional use? Seeing no one else speaking, I'm going to close the public hearing and see if there's any questions, discussion from the board.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'll go first. Just right off, I'm an NRA member, all various handguns, shotguns, rifles, pro gun. I like the deer hunt, I like the dove hunt, I like guns. Something that I had to go through last week, which has nothing to do with the gentleman here, but the reason why the other one got pulled off the agenda is a 13-year-old boy got shot and killed in the head last week, and I attended his funeral on Wednesday. That was a very rough day. And it's still under investigation in the sheriff's office. Like I said, it has nothing to do with these applicants here. It was, like I said, it's still under investigation. My opinion, I mean, I don't know how much discussion y'all want to have, we can, but we can't stop individuals from shooting guns on their property. I mean, that is their right. But I think if we open this up and we allow this to be zoned and we commercialize this, I think we're going down a bad public safety road. And I'm sure, I know the gentleman, what he just said, he himself has, a lot of experience with guns, obviously with his background, but still, I don't think this is something we want popping up all over our county. I've got a lot of upset folks in my district right now. I definitely can't support this, but I wouldn't support it even without the 13-year-old getting killed. But I just don't think this is something we need. If somebody wants to look at an indoor range, that's one thing, but open range, I can't support it.
Yeah, and I'll kind of concur with what I hear Commissioner Loach saying is we have guns, and my brother and I, we have a thing we go to burn, and we try to do it safely. It's about 20-foot burn, and we don't want to restrict that, but I do have a concern for safety. I've even talked to some folks and understand that sometimes, and this is not from shooting ranges necessarily, it could be hunters, but they repair the roofs at some of the buildings and find bullets in them. And so I think we just go down the road with outdoor shooting ranges. I wouldn't mind seeing us come up with something under this conditional use that allows for indoor where it's protected, bullets do not leave the facility. And the sound would be addressed that way as well. Safety and sound would be the two keys. So I've had a struggle with the board to approve this tonight, to be honest with you. I have a vote, but I thought I'd state my opinion.
I've always supported property rights. And this will be one of the first ones that I'll have to vote against. I'm sure your qualifications are there, but we don't really have an ordinance to even address whether these are the safety. Everything's in place. I live over in Honey Ridge, and I've heard all the shooting. I honestly thought it was just nothing going on. But I've received numerous calls from people complaining about the noise and then the safety factor as well with stray bullets. And then after this death last week, that kind of made me feel that we just didn't need it at this point. Or we needed some way to address those safety concerns, and I don't think we have that in place.
So my question is, if it's for private use, why does he even need to rezone? We can prove
It's a conditional. I think he's asking for a condition.
Well, then,
He can still go shoot.
He's adding commercial. I'm assuming you're adding a commercial. If you'll come to the microphone, you can ask this question to the commissioner. It's for private use, why do you need to rezone? So if you're going out there yourself, there's a couple of friends shooting occasionally, that's one thing. But if it's commercial, I'm assuming there's going to be a fee charged
Yes, sir, there'll be a fee charge itself, and we'll have
Come out.
classes restricted to 10. So I do understand some of the concerns you guys have, but I mean, I grew up in New Hampshire, and since I've been down here in Georgia, which is where I'm retiring to, for the exact reason that you guys love guns, and you're not trying to restrict everything and tax me to death down here like they are up north. There's 1,000,001 people in the woods on any given day shooting guns and training on their own, which is great, and I 100% agree with everybody here. Property owner should be able to do what he wants. But somebody needs to get that training. And if they don't do it in an environment where we have the safety parameters that are set, in an area where we have a depression with proper berms that meet all of federal regulations, then they're going to do it in their backyards. If they do it in their backyards, then you have the concern of what are they shooting into? Are they meeting the safety parameters? I would be meeting those safety parameters, and I would, again, be able to present those to you guys and be able to show that. So from a safety perspective, I do understand where you guys are coming from, but it makes way more sense to have a controlled environment where I can go ahead, or anyone can go ahead, and have proper training, certified training by individuals that actually know what they're doing, not, you know, like my father when he taught me how to shoot. I love my father to death. He didn't know a damn thing about how to shoot a weapon. He just knew pointing in that direction. Kentucky windage when I was growing up. Living on a dairy farm and stuff, we used to shoot the deer. But again, I didn't really know or understand about rotational mass of the earth and you know, trajectory of a round and how all that stuff plays into actually acquiring the target itself. Those are things that I've learned over the last 20 years in military service and additional schooling that I've been to above and beyond that. And all of that is going to be getting taken and brought within an environment itself that can be controlled. So saying that we can have ranges and everyone can have property, the property owner can do what they want, that's wonderful. But if there's no place for individuals to learn how to properly shoot, then you will have issues in the future, whatever they may be, whether it's rounds like you're saying falling on the roof, sir, and hopefully nothing beyond that. But there will continue to be issues. Proper training fixes a lot of that stuff. Understanding proper berms and what the safety measures themselves have to be, that fixes a lot of stuff. No different than with concealed carry. If there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them, gentlemen.
I agree with everything you said. And everybody that called me said they're all pro-gun. They just simply didn't want, they felt like it needed to be a larger parcel of property.
So the additional property around
Has the sheriff been out there to take, has anybody in the county been out there to take a look at your property?
Yes, sir. We've had a couple of the deputies, I don't know their names, I just shoot them.
I know the sheriff been out and reviewed it.
Effingham Sheriff's Department?
Yes, sir.
You know, the only thing I would disagree with, you said you're different, I agree with, I like the idea of training.
like what he's
One thing I
saying.
disagree
Yeah, it's
with though is I do not believe it's going to decrease the amount of people who shoot on their own property.
Right, yeah, I
I
understand.
mean, I'm not going to get paid when I've got a 20-foot berm on my.
No, his point was if they were trained, it would be better for everybody.
Well, I agree with that, but you can have training without, and you can also do it indoor.
I mean, proper training.
Yeah.
So the problem is with indoors, is it's static. If you're doing static training, I sit here, no different than shooting at a piece of paper. What good does that do? Because most training itself is done under stress, especially when you start looking at law enforcement. All right, I have a real heart for law enforcement. I do the training up in Halifax County, North Carolina, as well as LA County. For the officers themselves that come out there, static training is absolutely useless. In a indoor environment, that's completely useless.
Just our law enforcement as well as Rankin, they have their places, the shooting ranges. I'm not sure that they have indicated they would be using this, maybe one or two because they know you use it. But
Yes, sir.
we have shooting ranges that are currently being used, and so I don't know.
I understand that, sir, and I've also done the training with Chatham County SWAT. Their training meets the bare minimum requirements that the county's willing to pay for, not necessarily what you want. And they're phenomenal individuals that don't get the dollars that are needed. So when environments are provided for them to go get that type of training, you'd be surprised who comes out of the woodwork for that training, sir. Whether it's at the most basic level, if this is handgun level 1, or we start to get to the more increased skill sets at handgun level 2, handgun level 3. That's where you start to see trained professionals come out. That's where trained professionals start to get better. I do the training itself over at Pula Krav Maga and Pula Karate in Pooler. I'm their chief instructor over there. The hands-on training that we provide for Pula Police itself, they come out because we provide the training for them. That training under stress is what's going to make a difference for them when they actually have to utilize it. Static training, which is what most counties actually pay for, they go to the range once a year and we put 25 or 30 rounds on a piece of paper and we walk away saying, hey, we did a great job. That's not training, sir, that's qualification. We need to make sure that there are training environments that are available to best suit the community itself. I do understand that the noise concerns and all that, but if those noise concerns are no different than if I go out there on my private time and shoot whatever I want, because there's no restriction on that. I can go out there and shoot whatever I want on that property because it's private. And you've all said that that's the case. So the noise itself would not change any worse than what it currently is now.
I definitely disagree with you on that. If you open it up, it's definitely going to be a lot more noise.
Sir, if it's opened up to the general public to do as they please, I agree with you 100%. When it's my course, sir, I can control everything in that. That's why it's my course. I literally will control from the time they take ammunition to the time that round makes impact with the berm. And that's something I'm capable of doing, especially with safeties. That's why we do training. The amount of shooting I do on that range currently is probably what you hear. I shoot a couple thousand rounds a month in varying weapons themselves. There's a point of staying proficient. There's also a point of starting to train the community itself. We worry about what the community does in their own backyard, but we don't provide an opportunity for them to go ahead and train. If you don't provide the opportunity to train, you get what you get with the backyard training. If you have an individual that is not certified, at what point can you guys come out and say this is safer than what's being offered right now?
Have you had any conversations with the sheriff to try to get his support on this? The sheriff?
The sheriff.
Sir?
I don't think Sheriff McDonough wants to actually commit to any contracts or anything, but the deputies have always been free to use my range. That's the purpose I built it. I built the range just for them to come out there and use on their off time, where they're not under pressure with all their other colleagues. So one or two will show up, they'll touch on their skills, and then they'll qualify. It's very helpful for Orange City, Pooler, Effingham, they all come out there.
I think one of the biggest problems right now is timing.
Thomas,
Just
sir.
had this incident.
Yes, sir.
And the expression on everybody's mind, but I'll ask the board if they would maybe consider.
I mean, the additional property around there too, one is the landfill. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I want to consider, another big problem we have is we don't have the intelligence to really make a decision on berm height, distance from other pieces of property and everything else.
I can give you the regulation on that, sir.
I
if
know
you'd
you
like.
can, but I know the board's not educated on that. Or the board would consider looking at that in the future and maybe develop something. Hey, it's got to be so many acres away from other property. Might not fit this piece, but it might fit something in the future. We would know the regulations. We'd have it approved by our attorney. And I know you would be safe no matter what environment you would be in. There's no doubt when you're a professional. But I think we need some kind of comfort on our end. Hey, we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's. We're doing the right thing. We're protecting our constituents and everything else. We've got a duty to do that. We've got to do our due diligence on that path. And then I think perhaps if the board sees fit, we can move forward with something like that. Right now, I don't have anything to balance it against because we don't have anything like that in the county. We don't have any regulations really to go along with it. We need more information. We need some more regulatory.
Yeah,
of course.
I'm not sure on that page.
And maybe you're not.
Yeah, I'm just.
Right now, we don't have anything to move forward with.
To me, it's just noise and safety. The way you keep that down is just don't make it commercial.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with
I'm for
anything you
training,
said.
but I
It's
don't
just
think.
time and sport, and it's just something that's above all of us. And I really wish that you had some support from the sheriff. You know, if he has some input, I think he, you know, if he was in support, it would be easier for us to support, but, because he deals with this type of stuff, but.
I mean, I'm not opposed to putting it in the right place. I'm not sure that this is it, you know.
The adjacent property around there is all owned by Tim Goros,
You
who's,
got a neighbor right across the street that spoke tonight too, that has concern. So you do have
the concern of that neighbor, I do understand, but when you're saying things are being blown off your house,
I'm not speaking about that. I'm just thinking proximity. Mere proximity. It's just straight across the street.
and it's over 200 yards, the rounds aren't going towards that house, it's the opposing direction.
You got your kids there, and you don't know that, you don't know you.
Well, that's the thing of this though, sir, is if it's approved, we would know exactly where my berm heights, everything, sir.
We're at the point where the commission's asking questions and discussion. The opportunity to speak for or against was earlier in the public hearing. So,
Correct, sir.
if you could be free to address any question that they ask.
That was my only thing. I'd like to see us do something. You've got a lot of land in Effingham County, maybe not everybody agrees with that. But like I said, from my point of view right now, the time is just down. This incident just happened. It's not been investigated. We don't know what happened yet. Or how what it's related to. And then secondly, the education of it. You know, if everybody knew more and has some statistics, and we have something they need to model off of. Right now we have nothing, you know, other than local military bases and things like that that have shooting ranges. You know, what do they do? How far are they away from people? We don't know any of that right now.
Basically, we would have to completely say, okay, we trust you.
Right now we need to create, if we go down this road, and I'm not saying go over with, we need to create an ordinance that fit this, and okay, now we've got something we can enforce, and then if we did something, we know what to look for. Now we would be trying to enforce something additional, where we have no idea where to even start.
And you be careful if you do that, you open it up, so now you've approved one, you've got 2, 3, for instance, you got 4. And how do you turn the next one down? And the safety of the noise continues to go up, so I just still have troubles with anything that's not indoors at this point. But that's just my fault. Any other question, discussion? We already placed the hearing, so I'm going to entertain a motion to approve alternative 1, or?
I'll make a motion to deny the request.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Deloach to deny the request. Second, Mr. Loper. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. Did you say yes?
I said,
You put that as yes? Okay. So it's unanimous to deny the request. We won't have a need for the second reading. And before we go to the next, I will say I appreciate your willingness to train and your expertise, but I think there's just so many things we need to review before we think of going out that road. Item 14 is withdrawn. Item 15 also is withdrawn. It's the second reading. We move number 16, public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Christian Hale for a variance located at 1173 Highway 21 North from the required building setbacks to allow for the requirement of a dwelling met number 366, parcel number 40, 3rd District.
So this variance is necessary because this 1 acre parcel it's a triangle, it's an unusual shape. And the house, the original house was located where the arrow is pointing. The house has been removed and the applicant is planning to put a new home there and has moved it over as far as he can in order to try to meet setbacks. But it's basically going to be impossible to meet our setbacks without totally reconfiguring and refinancing. And so he requested a variance from the setbacks.
Yeah, it's a hardship because the shape of it is something that they can't do. Anyone speaking tonight of the public hearing for approving this variance?
Yes, sir. I'm Christian Hale, I'm the homeowner. If you go back to that first one, please. Yes, where you see the old house, it's currently been demolished. We had a house fire. Long story short, it was built in the 1950s. It was built right on the property line. The previous property owner before me and the one behind me, that big patch of land, had an issue with the line, the property line. obviously. So he had to take down which was a porch and all the other stuff. But anyway, long story short, I'm putting a new house there. I just got it all cleaned up. The old house, I had to clean it up myself. It was over 30 tons worth of stuff. It's gone. I bought the new house. I got the loan. I didn't know that it was. I knew it was approved for a mobile home. I did not know that I would have to be 50 foot off the property line. I'm 24. You know, this is one of my first issues with this. But anyway, I moved it far off the property line. I'm good on the front. It's the back side of the property. But
What's the back side going to be?
I'm going by your diagram here.
Yeah.
It's,
About 25 feet, probably.
it's 20-ish feet, yes.
Well,
And that's in line with the hardship we just did, at least Mr. Hutchinson about the same thing, so.
yeah, and I'm more in regulation now than prior with the old house.
Yeah, I think we can all see that.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else speaking for? Anyone not speaking against this variance? See no one else speaking for or against, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion, question, or motion from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper to approve the request. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed no. And it passes unanimously. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Christian Hale for a variance located at 1173 Highway 21 North from the required building setbacks to allow for the replacement of the dwelling map number for dwelling map number 366, parcel number 40, 3rd District. Motion to approve second reading.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper to approve second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Number 18, so you're good. Public hearing, the planning board recommends approving an application by Oleg Mitnick to rezone 21.96 out of 27.76 acres located on 140 Commerce Court, B3, from B3 to I1 heavy industrial junk road to bring current property use into compliance with the map parcel 466C, map 466, parcel 133 in 5th District.
So as you see, these are the parcels at the back end of Commerce Court there. And a year ago, we had trouble with traffic congestion with the car export businesses that are operating there. Those owners are no longer in place, and Mr. Mitnick has purchased the 3 properties. There'll be a good deal more room now to stage the trucks bringing in the wrecked cars. So he is requesting a rezoning to bring the business, to bring the properties in compliance with the county's current ordinances. The site plan does show that, I just want to point out, not the entire acreage is not being requested for rezoning. So the acreage along 21 is intended to be left in the current zoning, B3, for potential future development. It's just the portions where, business is currently underway and maybe some room to expand that the zoning request is targeted at.
Okay. Open the public hearing. Anyone not speaking for this rezoning?
Well, I'm Linda Sims, and I'm with Coleman Company, and I'm representing Mr. Mitnick. So if you have any questions or anything about what his intention with this rezoning is, I'm here to answer that.
All right, we'll see in just a moment. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else speaking for? Anyone tonight speaking against this rezoning? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and see if there's any questions or discussion from the board.
I've got a lot of knowledge in this area, obviously. Just like Teresa said, the problems we were having in the area were eliminated, thankfully. And this is something the board approved last year, and he's just coming into compliance so he can operate his business. Not only these, there's another 1 or 2 parcels that need to do the same thing and operate the same type of business. But Mr. Mitnick's the first one that's actively operating like so to do so. This is what we've asked him to do, basically.
Okay.
Secondly, I would say that he does have adequate staging area, where that's one of the major problems we had before. The person on this parcel before them had no staging area whatsoever. So he was clogging up certain systems. He knows everything else was getting locked up, the problems.
Would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Loach to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
We go to the second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Ole Mitnick to rezone 21.96 acres out of 27.76 acres located at 140 Commerce Court in B3 I-1 Heavy Industrial Junkyard to bring current property use into compliance. Map number 466C, parcel number 1-3 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Deloach, to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it passes unanimously. Item number 20 in the public hearing, the planning board recommends approving an application by Thomas Amateur. Amateur, thank you. For a variance located at 180 Grace Lane from the accessory building apartments to be located in the rear yard. This is map number 475, parcel number 18, 5th district.
This is another triangle-shaped lot, and the house is set so far back, there really isn't room for an accessory building in the rear yard. The proposed location is up here in the front. As you see, it's along a power line easement there, and then the neighbor across the street has actually written a letter indicating that they're fine with that view. And I did go out and take a picture, and you'll see that actually foundation work began because there was a snafu in the building permit review process where we weren't looking at where the street was. So this pad is in place, but as you can see, it really is going to be screened somewhat. So
It meets all the requirements of the secondary building, the size of the main house.
it's
Triangle lot and hardship there, okay. I'm going to try to cut to the chase, see if there's anyone tonight speaking against this variance. See no one, anyone want to speak for it, not necessary since no one's speaking against it.
Very good, I appreciate that.
Okay. So seeing no one speaking for or against, I'm going to close the public hearing and see if there's any question or discussion from the board. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it passes unanimously. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Thomas
Amateur.
Amaker, thank you, for a variance located at 180 Grace Lane from the accessory building requirements to be located in the rear yard. This is map number 475, parcel number 18 in the 5th district. Motion.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second. Motion, Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette, to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it passes unanimously. And that concludes our regular scheduled business and public hearings. We'll go back and see if you have any staff reports tonight.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How about my clerk?
I have something about some railroad crossing pole sign postage and markings that's going to be done later next year, but they wanted you all to know in advance. I'll put it in your box. The details will be in your box.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
No, sir.
Any other staff? EOM?
That's in their box. Their monthly reports in their box.
I'll just go over a few items. Of course, Kristen with EOM Operations. In October, we had 0.396 million gallons per day average for the wastewater treatment. This is a 0.5 permit limit right now. The water distribution was at 0.082 million gallons per day with a permit limit of 0.429. We have submitted a list for the 2021 LMIG, so I'm sure y'all have seen some of that. And we'll be preparing some documents for the permit application for the next agenda. We are undergoing the 2020, working on the change order items. We've got some items that started this week, And then some items are scheduled for before December, or actually before Christmas. GDOT is,
Did you say we were wastewater, you said, or what?
wait, I did wastewater and water. Wastewater was 0.396 and water,
0.396.
yep, and then the water was 0.082. Let's see, the Georgia DOT is working on anticipated costs and requirements for the bridge replacement on Stillwell. So we should be getting some information from them soon on what the requirements are. RFP was published, of course, for the force main for the engineering on October, and it was due by October 29th, so I know that's under review right now. Booster station, all permits have been completed. We received the updated plans and specifications, including the electrical plans for review, and staff is currently reviewing those. Loop A, the invitation to bid has already been drafted by Allison, and we're just waiting on the final plans for submission on that. Loop B, they are currently working on the permitting, and that tends to be a little bit lengthy process, so that's kind of where the Loop B is right now. Wastewater treatment plant SCADA, that project is ongoing. They've already got the backup and the current database. They're just working on what items need to be replaced right now. And we should have that report this month. That's all I got.
Any questions for Kristen? Just mind letting them know that we met this week.
Yep.
And Commissioner Deloach was with me. We kind of gave them 5 priorities for our wastewater that we're going to be working on to bring to our workshop. So we got some things we need to be working on. One is our spray fields, as you heard, 0.396, 5 is our max. Our facility doesn't meet, but we need to get our spray fields up, so we need that one of our top priorities to maximize our current 1 million gallons. They're going to be coming back to us with some ideas and thoughts and plans and what we need to be doing. And we're going to start marking that each month so we can stay on track with that.
I have a question for Kristen.
Okay.
Last Thursday, it's not a question, I'm just telling you about it. Last Thursday it flooded in Springfield and Stillwell, Georgia. Friday morning, I looked out the kitchen window there, and the dirt dog was out there with his filling up holes, I said. And I've had a bunch of people complain about that thing. I had a fellow over there on McCall Road. Every time it rains and they come over there past that road, he'd call me and tell me about it. He said, have that tar stick to that wet road. Well, they filled them holes. They filled the hole right up and go and turn it right off the road in my driveway, going to the road. And he wasted your time. He'd been better off just for y'all to pay him and let him sleep over there where his office is. That tar won't stick to that wet pavement. I don't know how he got the water out the hole. After he left there, the holes still out there. They had water still standing in them.
We'll definitely
The tar will not stick to the water.
No problem. I will get with staff and let
I don't
them
know who it was, but anyway.
We'll get it
He was
addressed.
working. He was trying.
We'll definitely get it addressed for you.
But he'd been better off to stay over there and sleep and save us money. Anyway, that's all I have. I'm not getting on to you. I'm just telling you what's happening.
Hey, I'm glad you tell me, because then we can address it.
And I think that was last Thursday, because
Okay.
I called Tim the next day and I never did do it, so, but anyway.
Sounds good.
So
I will
I'll
get
wait
with
Tuesday
them.
night. Chris will be there.
Not a problem. I will get with them for sure.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Anybody else?
Anybody else? Thank you. There's no staff reports. Do we have any executive session tonight?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second Mr. Deloach to adjourn this meeting. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed no. Unanimously stand adjourned.